The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask Good Questions podcast, broadcasting live every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on W4CY Radio at W4CY.com. This week and every week, we will reach for a higher purpose in money and life, as well as a focus on health and wellness. Now, let's join your host, Bonita Bell-Andersen, as together we start with Asking Good Questions.
Hello and welcome to the Ask Good Questions podcast. I am Bonita Bell-Andersen, your host, and today we have something that I tell you what, it's pushed my buttons a little bit. We're going to be talking about credit card debt, but I have an expert that is going to maybe shift your entire paradigm. I'd like to invite Tommy Kilpatrick to the proverbial podcast stage.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me. I'm excited. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, well, I'm going to probably re-ask some questions because this has made me really, for crying out loud, I'm a financial advisor and I shouldn't get this wrapped up with something like this, but he has such a unique way of looking at this that I felt like this was important for us to discuss. And then I would love your feedback as far as what you think. I'll also give you his information at the end so that you can contact him if you go, wait a minute, what is this all about? So first, let me tell you a little bit about this guy. He's actually in the Philippines. I'm in Hawaii. He's in the Philippines. So he is a retired American living in the Philippines, teaching farmers how to build dome structures with bamboo, vertical gardening, and to open free self-managed health care clinics. Maybe we should do something about that one of these days. He was born and raised in California. He has a double major of abnormal psychology and accounting, or maybe this is going to be abnormal accounting, huh, Tommy?
Crazy. That's crazy.
Author, teacher, entrepreneur, 28-year marriage ended. He became homeless on purpose. And he had a vow of poverty for 10 years, living on farms on the East Coast, and walks in faith with God. So, Tommy, I'm going to turn the time over to you. Why don't you give us the story about how this whole thing with your unique way of looking at credit cards came about?
That's fine. Thank you very much. I'm an author, and I wrote a book on health and healing. And it was so popular that a company contacted me to do an infomercial. And this was in 2004. So to test market different strategies, I was put on the radio as a guest for about 6 months. And so I lived on my credit cards. I had 3 cards, and I lived on them. And then what happened is one of the talents got in trouble with the FTC. He made false claims about weight loss. And so the FTC came down hard on him and the company, and all the new talents contracts were terminated. And so I was left with $85,000 of credit card debt. And that put me into a little bit of a depression. So working with mentally ill children, it helped, to tell you the least. So then about a month into it, I kind of came out of a fog of depression. How am I going to pay for this? Because I was promised about $100,000 a month. So $85,000 was no big deal. And so also the expectations of making that kind of money was great. So that didn't all happen. So disappointment. But then I woke up one morning and remembering my dad being a CPA, and I was in school to be a CPA. I never finished and got the credential, but I did the work of a CPA. And I realized that the bank did not have an invoice and they didn't have a debt. And then my memory goes back to my accounting class in banking, and we were given a manual called Modern Money Mechanics. And in that manual on page 6, it says banks accept a promissory note, and then they write numbers into your free checking account. Basically, that's what it says. So I never signed a promissory note. At the time, my father-in-law was a judge and an attorney, and we had long discussions about how fraud undoes all contracts. So I don't have a contractual agreement with the bank to do their fraud. So with his help, I filed 3 federal lawsuits against the banks. And in there, the pleading, I explained the crimes they were committing and what they had done to me, and it wasn't really a debt. So things were going pretty good. We were coming up to a deposition date for the bank to provide me one of their people who was going to claim that I actually had a debt and had the evidence. So then all of a sudden, I was called into court, and my father-in-law said, that doesn't happen. I mean, judges want to know what's going on in discovery. When are we going to do this for trial? They don't call the litigant in and without the other side. So I went in and the judge said, Mr. Kilpatrick, do you have a credit card? And I went, well, let me start at the beginning. Oh, we'll start at the beginning later. Do you have a credit card? And I went, well, no, it started off as a gift card. Open your wallet up, open that, show me that card. So I opened up my wallet, showed me, what's it say right there? Credit card. You're an idiot. Get out of here. So he dismissed all 3 cases against me. So then I'm going, I'm walking out of court going, now what? Here comes lawsuits. Here comes everything. World's a turtle against me again. So about a month later, I looked at my credit report, and all 3 of the bank credit card debt was gone. It was off my credit report. So I never got a 1099-C. That's important. Let me just speak a little bit quickly about that, is that when the bank loans you $100,000 and you don't pay them back, they notify the IRS that you've got $100,000 cash and you have to pay taxes on that. And on the other side, they could take a deduction. So the banks did not take an $85,000 tax deduction. So that's because there never was a loan.
Well, and so the thing that, and because I talked to this guy for 2 or 3 times because I'm trying to wrap my head around this. I was worried about, appropriately paying your own debt. So you talk about nuking credit card debt. What does that really mean? What are you talking about?
Yes, absolutely. And I ask the good questions is a perfect show she got here. So that's what I'm going to ask you a question.
Well, all the things that I have gotten in trouble with in my life is because I didn't ask good questions, right? So it was like easy to name this podcast because I knew that all the things that I wanted to talk about had to do with asking good questions. So we are maybe asking some good questions, but also maybe stretching people's beliefs on what they think is so with this topic today.
Yeah. And this is a great question, I think. So is it possible that you, your audience, and me, I'm including myself in this too, is it possible that we have been lied to, indoctrinated, and brainwashed? What do you think? Is it possible?
Anything's possible.
And
I guess depending on who you would talk to at the bank, it would all be like, well, what's the definition? What are you talking about?
That's the critical point we're getting to. That's great. So we want to ask questions. So if you have been lied to, you can go, wait a second, but then what if it's generational? What if you've been lied to generation for 60 years, you've been lied to? Then it's indoctrination. But when you don't question it, it's now brainwashed. So what I'm trying to get through to your audience is that you don't have to be brainwashed. You don't even realize you've been brainwashed because you're not going to ask a good question. So we want to ask a good question. So the thing is, when we watch television, we see a bank robbery. And so we say alleged. All I want you to do is add one word, is alleged credit card debt. Now, once you start saying that, then the bank has to prove there's a debt. If you go into court and you use their language, you're going to lose. You're going to lose the argument. There's no way. Because if you say you have credit card debt, you've got it. You morally got to pay it. And that's what it is. You have a debt. So pay it. What I'm saying is there is a difference. And so that's what I'm trying to have your audience just start to ask a good question is it alleged? And now we get into that kind of an answer.
Okay. Well, so what's the difference between actual debt that you really should pay and alleged debt?
Yes. Well, the thing is, there is true credit cards. Okay. Now, a true credit card is, let's say you need tires for your car, but you don't have the money. You know it's going to be 1,000, 1,500, right, for 4 tires and balancing and putting it on. So you go to the store to find out the prices, but your tires are so bald, you're going to die if you drive another mile in this car, right, in these bad tires. So you say to them, I don't have the money. Oh, well, why don't you, Bonita, just fill out our in-store credit card application, and if you're approved, we'll do it. And you apply, you're approved, they put tires on your car, and you drive away without paying, right?
Right. And then you start making your monthly payments on your
not yet. Now, this is from a store, so they send you a statement at the end of the month, and that's a true statement. On it, it has an outstanding unpaid invoice, and that's what you have to pay. So this is a legitimate credit card debt. When you have an invoice that you have not paid, you are morally obligated, legally obligated to pay that debt. That's a true debt because they have an invoice. Now, my first job as an accountant, the CPA came up to me. I never met the guy. He came into my office. I'm sitting at my desk, my things sorted out, just my first few minutes. And he's angry. And he looks at me and he points his finger at me and says, if you pay from a statement, I'm going to fire you. That is in my head. That image is there. He was a really nice guy. Then all of a sudden his attitude changed. He says, look, if we get a statement, how do you know we didn't already pay it? So you never pay from a statement. I did that on purpose to put an impression on your head that you never pay from a statement. You see the invoice here? I go, yeah. It's blank. It has no authority to pay. See the stamp right there? Yeah. That's a department head signature. Only pay from an invoice that my department head has already approved. So you never pay from a statement. You never pay from an invoice unless it's been authorized to pay. And I don't care if they're calling you. I don't want to hear their story about we're not paying them. There's a reason. So if there's a problem, you come to me and I will tell you which invoice to pay from, only from an approved invoice. So that is what has put in my mind. So the question is, does the bank have an outstanding unpaid invoice?
Usually not. No. Not on a credit card.
No. Did the bank put tires on your car?
No, but the merchant who signed up with the bank did.
Well, we're talking about credit. So when you go into a store, like a general store years ago, hey, Charlie, I need 5 pounds of flour, 1 pound of sugar, and I'll pay you when my crops come in. That's right. It writes it down. That is true credit. Cred means Latin to believe that you're going to pay. So there's a belief. So you had tires on your car. You didn't pay for them. And so you drove away. You've got a statement at the end of the month saying there's an outstanding unpaid invoice. So you have to pay it. That's morally, legally your obligation. However, how do you know the difference between a legitimate credit card and a phony one? Look on the back of your credit card. If that card says like Walmart or Amazon or any department store, and if it says issued by Bank of America, Citibank, Wells Fargo, Bank of London, Bank of Tokyo, any bank in the world, then it's a phony card. It's fraudulent. It's not a true credit card because they didn't put tires on your car and they didn't do the service for you. That they do not have an outstanding unpaid invoice.
They're like a go-between then maybe?
Well, there's now we have to, before we go into that, we can go into the loan part of it. So we have to first establish that the bank could not have given you credit. It could not have given you a credit card. Now the argument is they had a loan. But if you think about it, a merchant can't do both. The merchant's not going to loan you $50 and then also sell you products and services that you have to pay for later. They're going to do one or the other. So the banks are only involved in loans. So if we can establish right now that the bank does not have an outstanding unpaid invoice, there isn't a debt, and it's not a credit card. And now we go into how this all happens. So,
Okay. Well, are there, so, I mean, I would imagine that everyone who's listening has got credit cards. Are there legal or contractual weaknesses, maybe in standard credit card agreements?
oh, sure. And that's the thing, is that when you have, if you use the card, you're bound by the terms and conditions, and that's how
Yeah.
they got you. However, the Supreme Court has ruled over and over again that fraud undoes all contracts. Courts are not set up so criminals can bring their victim in and abuse them even more. So that's not set up for that. So we do not have a contractual agreement if they have not disclosed. And that's the whole point of this thing, is that law is language, language is law. So if you say you have credit card debt, you have it. You got to pay it. There's nothing, you can't get out of it. And you see, if you start using the banks, the criminal language, then you're going to lose. So this is what happens. So the bank wants customers. Am I right?
Right.
They spend money to get you as a customer. Years ago, they would purchase toasters and wall clocks, put them in the bank, and entice you to come in to open up an account, and they would give you a toaster. Okay,
Right.
That's normal business. Am I right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's what they do. Now, one time they had an ad in the paper, and it said, deposit $25, and in 90 days we'll match it. So what did I do? I took my $25, went into their bank, deposited, waited 91 days, and went in and drew out my $25 plus their $25. Now I got a question for you, and close the account. Now I got a question for you. Did I rip off the bank?
No, I mean, they always meant to give
No.
you the 25. They're just hoping that down the road, you're going to be paying interest to them.
Right. They're hoping that the customer makes some money. Now, did I steal $25 from the bank?
No.
No. Now, is that immoral? What I did, is that immoral?
No. I mean, they
No.
they willfully put $25 into your bank, as that was a
Right.
marketing. It was a marketing thing that the bank did.
Right. So it's not immoral. Now, remember this, because we're going to come back to that later in our talk. Okay. So what they did is they sent me a $500 gift card. What? Okay. Banks are only about loans. So when you go into a bank with no money, you hope to come out with money, unless you have a gun, and we're not talking about that. You go into a bank with no money, and you hope to come out with one, and you get a loan. Okay. So I have a question for you. Here's a good question. If you apply for a loan and they turn you down, do you still get the loan?
No.
No. If you apply and they do accept you, what you do is you go into the bank and you fill out loan documents. Am I right?
Right.
Right. So in those loan documents, you have to prove you have income.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right?
Yep.
Right.
Because
So
they want to be paid back.
They want to be paid back, but what happens if the judge says to the bank, you're giving loans to people who can't pay it back? That's predatory. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, right. So the bank has to do their due diligence to prove anything in the future that they did the work to have you prove, bring income subs in or prove they get a pension, and they actually have evidence that you can actually pay this loan back. Now they also have collateral. So the collateral would be your house, your car. If you do a personal loan, you put your yacht up for collateral, they legally can take it away from you, sell it, and take the money. Now, if they're short, that's their problem, right? But what if they're long? What if you owe $100,000 and they confiscate your $1 million yacht and bring in $1 million? They don't keep $900,000. They have to give that back to you, right? Because it's your asset. You only put up $100,000 out of $1 million.
Right.
So that's exactly what they did when they sent you a $500 credit card. You think it's a credit card, you pay it, you owe it. It's a gift card. If I give you something, Bonita, it's called a gift. If I sell it to you, then I'm a merchant and I sell it to you, a product. But if I loan it to you, then you got to have loan documents. So in that loan process, what's also happening is you have to have a credit report that shows some history, and your credit score determines your interest rate. But the last thing you sign to get that loan is a promissory note, a promise that you're going to pay them back.
Right. But isn't there like a promissory note? I mean, I'm hearing you say you've got to have a promissory note. Isn't there a promissory note in the terms and conditions of the credit card because you're promising to make monthly payments?
Right. And that's what maybe implies that, but you have to sign a piece of paper to get a loan. And that's in my show link. So don't believe anything I have to say today. Look at the show notes. There's going to be 3 links there. Read them yourself and take this podcast to your CPA or anyone who's had one class of accounting and ask them, is this guy right? In my book, there's a chapter about what went on in a courtroom scene of an attorney and interviewing a CPA expert witness. And the judge asked me, do I have a credit card? And I said, yes. Was I wrong? And the CPA will take you through all the steps that you are wrong. That wasn't a credit card. So right up front, I'm saying, don't believe me. Do your own research and take this and have your third party, a CPA, tell you that I'm actually 100% correct on my theory that the bank does not have an invoice. 2, there never was a loan. Now, I have in your second link in your show notes is the manual called Modern Money Mechanics. And in there it says what banks do to make a loan is they accept a promissory note and they write numbers into your checking account. Okay. So they have to accept a promissory note. Now think about this. Let's say, that's actually a question, good question. You have purchased a fractional stock of a bank. You're now a bank owner. It's your money. Do you want your money in your bank to be loaned out to people who can't pay it back?
Well, no, of course not. You're going to want to make good loans.
Right. Would you loan out your money to someone who has no collateral?
Well, no, because that would not be good business sense.
And now here's the best question. Would you loan out your money to someone who doesn't promise to pay it back?
No.
No. So even though it's terms and conditions, use the card, it doesn't say in there that you owe the money because you're going to have to write out, I, Bonita, Bell, it's going to promise to pay back who? The bank. And I'm going to promise to pay, it's revolving credit. It's still a loan. So the banks are only set up for loans. So there never was a loan. So what they did is they sent you a $500 gift card. If you say they sent you a $500 credit card, you're stuck. You're using the criminal's language, and in court and in law and language, you have no argument. But if you use the truth, because they gave you the card, you applied, and sometimes you didn't apply. It came in the mail. Remember that? Credit cards would just come in the mail. Would you, again, send credit cards out to people willy-nilly and let them charge us all up and not pay for it? That'd be stupid banking procedures. So they don't do that. So they sent you a gift card. So here's a good question. What did you do with your gift card? You went to Home Depot and you bought a toilet.
When bought it? Right.
A golden throne. So you buy a toilet, you're walking out the door, and someone at the door says, wait a second, sir, did you pay for that? And you have a receipt. Now think this through. It's going to take a little second. The card came in the mail. You didn't even apply for it. You went to Home Depot. You bought a $500 toilet. You didn't give Home Depot $500. You walked out without paying for that toilet. You have a receipt that is paid for it. Now, you're going to be getting, now who paid Home Depot that night or the next day?
Well, you would automatically say, well, the bank paid Home Depot.
The bank. Why would Home Depot let you walk out with a toilet without paying for it? Because they knew they were going to be paid that night, the next day, from the bank. Now, where did the bank get the money from? Their advertising budget. It wasn't a loan. It's their advertising budget to get you as a customer. Why would they spend $500 when they could spend a toaster for $25 to get you a customer? Well, you know, and you can look this up yourself. I did this 2 months ago. I said, what does the average person have to pay in bank fees for a credit card? and it comes up to $23.04 on average. My mom, who had a credit card for her whole life, never paid a penny in annual fees, never paid a penny on interest, never paid a penny on anything. So she was a freebie. The bank, it cost them money for her to be a customer. And about 12% are like my mom, but 78% of people pay. And what do they pay on average? $23.04. So if a bank has 1 million card holders, they're bringing in $23 million a month. Okay. And what it is all about is taking that money in so that they can, as a fraud, because that money is used to cover their, it's getting a little trying to talk here, but it's a free checking account. So they're charging you $23.04 a month for a free checking account. That's why they want to get you as a customer. So in about 22, 23 months, they're going to make back $500. And for the rest of your life, you're going to be paying on average $23, even if the interest rates go up to 50, 60, 70. I had talked to a podcast guy last week, and he said that he saw 109%. 109%.
Yeah,
how do they do this?
Ridiculous.
So once you get in and you think you've got a credit card debt, you got to pay these fees. That's where the bank is making all the money on fraud. Right. So there never was a debt. There never was a loan. And you're paying $23 on a free checking account.
Wow. This has just been like, I've never really thought about credit cards in this way. Obviously, I feel like, you need to legitimately pay for those things that you bought with a credit card. What I'm thinking is, how does this knowledge apply to people who have cards? Where I'm going with this is thinking, like, I built my business with credit cards, but I would use like the 12 months same as cash. And the cards that I have, I've seen up to like 29%. Well, one of the reasons why there's so much credit card debt in the United States is because people get caught in overspending, and then the banks are charging astronomical interest. And so how can people best use this information? They're going to legitimately pay what they owe, but what do you feel is the best way for people to
let's just get back to what's happening here. So what you got is you got a toilet from a gift. A gift card got you to go to the Home Depot, and at the end of the month, you get a statement. Are you going to get a statement from Home Depot saying that you do not, they have an outstanding unpaid invoice? Are you going to get a statement from Home Depot at the end of the month? No.
No, you're not. You're going to get your statement from
That's it. So are you going to have an outstanding unpaid invoice from Home Depot?
No, because Home Depot probably got paid.
They got paid, and you walked out with a receipt. You own the toilet, okay?
Right.
But you get a statement from the credit card company saying you have a bill. Now you've been lied to, indoctrinated, and brainwashed to think that this is a bill. Let me ask you a good question. When you have a normal checking account, you get a monthly statement. Is that a bill?
It seems like a bill.
Your normal checking account, you get a statement every month.
You get a statement. You don't get a bill. You get a statement.
You get a statement. Because what's the statement say? Here's your beginning balance. Here's your deposits. Here's your checks you wrote, your debit card use, other fees you had taken out, things like that. And you have an ending balance. It's not a bill, right?
Mm-hmm.
A statement is not a bill. A bill is a debt. A debt has to have an invoice that has the date, the product, the service, the taxes, the shipping, all the terms and conditions are there on your contractual agreement with that invoice. So there is no invoice. But you are a good person. You've been lied to, indoctrinated, and brainwashed. You write a $500 check out to the bank. Am I right?
Right. You pay your credit card bill.
You pay it. You pay it. See, they got you. It's a gift card. They sent you a gift card. You use the gift card to buy a toilet. Now they send you a statement making you think that you have to pay. So you as a good person, you were a $500 checkout. Now here's a good question. Is that the first time the bank has ever received money from you?
It could be. I mean, but maybe not,
be.
Maybe in different ways.
Well, just think it through. A card comes in the mail unsolicited. You go to Home Depot, you walk away with a $500 toilet, you get a statement at the end of the month thinking it's a bill, you write a $500 checkout. Is that the first time the bank has ever seen your money?
I would say I would say. It's the first time, if this is a new account,
It's the first time you ever met this bank? Yeah, first time you send the money in. Banks are only about loans. So when you have no money and you go into a bank, you want to come out with money, and that's called a loan. The same thing is when you make a so-called deposit. And that's the first link in the show notes, is that banks do not accept deposits. These are loans. You, Bonita, are loaning the bank $500.
right.
That went into your free checking account. Why is it free? They don't charge you. So this goes into a free checking account. Every purchase that you've made subsequent has been with your own money.
Right.
This is a checking account. The bank has set this up as a fraud. They're making you think you have to pay, but you put $500 in. Great. Next month, you buy a shower for $400. $400 is taken out of your account and you have $100 left. The next statement makes you think that you have to deposit $400. You don't. It's not a payment. This is your checking account. It shows $100. If you want to leave $100 in your checking account, leave it there. But the bank makes you think that you have to deposit $400 to bring it back up to the $500. And if you don't, they're going to charge you interest. And that's where the $23.04 comes in on average on every single person.
Right. I guess I'm going to say, but I got a statement that shows how much I owe. I think when people hear you talking about checking accounts, it's like, but I have my checking account with the bank, and I'm going, okay, I know I need to pay what I legitimately owe. I'm thinking this only applies to. Does it only apply to money that I feel like was fraud, that I had, was unfortunately involved in some kind of fraud? No.
Okay. When you have a store that has an in-store credit card and they have an outstanding invoice, you are morally obligated to pay that. The bank has lied to you, has, through their promotion, sent you a gift card. They didn't say gift card, they said credit card. That's where the fraud comes into play. So you think you have a credit card, you really don't. You have a gift card. A gift card is a gift. You go to the store and you get it. Done. They got you as a customer. And just like the wall clock, just like the $25, it's not immoral to close your account. When you put $500 into the bank, that's a loan. You loan the bank money. Banks are only set up for loans. They do not do goods and services. They don't do those kind of things like a merchant does. They don't put tires in your car. They are in a loan business. So when you take money into the bank, it's a loan to them. So when you open a checking account or a savings account, you're loaning the bank $500 in this case, and you trust that they will take care of it. And when you spend it, they will pay who you want. And so at the end of the month, you have an ending balance. That is a true statement. And that is what happens. Banking is only about accounts, and it's only about savings and checking accounts and loans.
I think the big thing with your approach is language and the way we talk about things, the way we think about things. I mean, I've known for a long time that, like, if I've seen, I had somebody that I was working with as a client once who had, like, they had $500,000 in their checking account at the bank because they were afraid to do anything with it. But I was like, Don't you realize that $500,000 in the bank is using that to loan money to people for their line of credits and their car loans and everything else, and making, so I mean, where I'm from, I'm wrapping my head around it by saying, okay, I know how banks operate, in that the money that you have in like money market accounts in a bank, they're giving you what, maybe 1%, and they're making, a multiple of that on their loans. So yeah.
Right.
So what do you think? What are the risks, financial or legal, of taking this approach to debt?
Okay. Bonita, you have been lied to, indoctrinated, and brainwashed. Okay. Because you're telling me banks take people's deposits and loan them out to other people.
Right.
And if you look that up on the internet, all kinds of websites are going to tell you the same thing. So they're reinforcing the big lie. Okay. But in my first link to you is a legal website that explains that, first of all, the banks do not take deposits. These are loans to the bank. And two, they do not take people's deposits and loan them out to other people. In that second link is the manual, Modern Money Mechanics, put out by the Federal Reserve. And in there, right before it says what they do, above it, they make mockery. They make a joke. They say it's obviously we don't take people's deposits and loan them out to other people because there wouldn't be enough money. There is not $1.3, $1.7 trillion of credit card debt. What that means is the banks want you to deposit 1.7 trillion into your checking account. That's what they're asking. That's what they're saying. That's what they want you to do. And if you don't do that, they charge you interest on your own money. So the checking account that you sent $500 to, you think you're paying for the toilet. No, the toilet was a gift. It was trying to get you to be as a customer. Now you're a customer. Now you're spending money on them, on the interest and on the fees and all that kind of stuff. And that's why they induced you to get you that gift card to get you to the customer. Now you know the language. It's a free checking account. It's your money. So how do you get yourself out of debt? It's not debt. How do you resolve this problem? Let's say, okay, you have a checking account. And all you need to do is write a letter to the bank, ask them to close your free checking account associated with this card.
And you still need to pay your debt. I mean, you still need to pay the money that you've owed.
You're still been lied to, indoctrinated, and brainwashed. It's okay. It takes a while. You're still using the
I knew I was
language.
putting myself out of risk here, because I was like, this is, so you can see this conversation with Tommy is like, okay.
Well, first of all, you admitted that the bank did not put tires on your car. You have admitted to me they do not have an outstanding unpaid invoice. So there is no debt. The only way they can issue a loan is they have to have a loan agreement. They have loan documents, agreement to that. They have to prove their income. Have you proved your income to any credit card applications? There are people on the internet that tell you, write any number because they don't verify. So put down 200,000, even though you're making 20, because you're more likely to get a higher card. It's all lies. It's all based on lies. So there is no collateral. There is no promissory note. It's a gift. The banks cannot give you a loan without a promissory note. And back to you said, as a bank owner, you're not going to loan your money to people who can't pay it back, and certainly not people who didn't promise to pay it back. That's a gift.
Right. So if you close your account and there's some money that you bought some goods and services. I mean, I know you've said before, you legitimately pay whatever you bought on credit, but you're saying there's good credit cards to have or not so good credit cards to have. The best credit cards, I think, are the ones that are tied to some kind of merchant.
Okay, a true credit card is not going to let you go to some other store. It's going to be that merchant. They might have a chain of something that make it convenient for you, but if there's an outstanding unpaid invoice, that is a debt you owe. What the banks are doing are getting you to front up the money, just like you would go to a bank and open up a checking account. They're going to say, how much do you open today? And you say $500. Great. Let me see $500. So you put $500 into the account and you buy things and it gets delayed. It gets less and less. So at the end of the month, you decide from your paycheck, you're going to put $400 back into it. Oh, great. That's your choice. This whole credit card scam is the same thing I'm trying to get through to you. It's a checking account. You are sending money to the bank to fill up your checking account. Then you buy anything and everything with your own money. It's been your money you've been buying everything on because there's not enough money to loan it out to people. There's no loan. It's your money that you have been spending. That's why there's no promissory notes.
So Tommy, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, if you send a letter to the bank, that's pretty weak. Now, what you could do is have your CPA write a letter saying, first of all, there is no invoice and the bank never loaned you any money. And since there wasn't a promissory note, there's no debt. Have your attorney, then you go, oh man, this could be $200 or $300. No, there's a thing called Legal Shield. And you get for $29, you get an attorney for a month. Only use it for a month. And have the attorney write a letter to the bank saying, fraud undoes all contracts. What I'm suggesting also is what I've done is I have made them appear that I'm going to sue them in court. So I have a civil lawsuit all filed out that explains the crimes they're committing and also all the discovery. So they're going to look at a brick of this paperwork and they're going to go, this is going to cost $20,000 just in legal fees alone. But the important thing is that we have an injunction. Now, Bonita, if you have somebody bothering you, you can take them to court and say, court, have them stop bothering me. I don't know these people. And that's exactly what's going on with all the Trump things. And people run to court and it stops Trump from actions, right? Those are called injunctions. We're going to do the same thing. So the bank knows if they sue us or we sue them, either way, there's going to be an injunction filed immediately. So the judge is going to look to the bank and say, look, here's an injunction, said you're bothering these people, claiming there's a debt. There's not a debt. So please bring a unpaid invoice, outstanding invoice, and bring a certified copy of the promissory note. And they all also are asking for an affidavit of debt. They want someone in the bank to swear out that you have a debt and they have the evidence and bring us to court. And if the bank doesn't do that, the judge finds them in contempt and it all stops. So since the bank does not have an invoice, they have no promissory note, and no one in the bank is going to swear on Bible under penalty of perjury with threat of going to jail or a fine if they're liars. So the bank cannot have their employees go to court and perjure themselves. So there is no debt. And that's the way you strongly let the bank know that you want the account closed, is all that's going to happen is one click off your credit report. It happened to me. It happened to about 1,000 clients I helped out in my charity, and I can help you too.
So, okay, so our time is just about up. Amazingly enough, it goes so fast. And so tell us a little bit about how you help people. If people feel that they want to contact you and get some help with this situation, how do you help people? What is it that you do in a nutshell?
It's in the show notes. So all you do is contact me, Tommy A. Kilpatrick, on Facebook. We have the email there. I offer a free 15-minute consultation. And if you do that, I'll give you my $69 book for free. Forget and Forget How to Nuke Your Credit Card Debt. So all I'm trying to do is help you not get out of debt. It's to resolve your issues about your free checking account. So you've got to take the money out first before you close it. So usually I find thousands of dollars for people before they don't even know they have money. So they eliminate this off their credit report and they have money in their pocket. So that's what I do for people.
Well, Tommy, this has been enlightening to say the least. It has pushed me to rethink how I think about this whole issue with banks and everything else. And I'm hoping that we can help some people that would like to pursue this. that the things that he mentions will be in the bonus downloads on the Ask Good Questions podcast that on that website. And so with that, Tommy, I'd like to thank you so much for coming today and for sharing with us. And thank you so much for everyone for joining the Ask Good Questions podcast.
Thank you.
Today's episode is over, but we did ask good questions again, didn't we? Don't miss out as we broadcast live every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on W4CY Radio at W4CY.com. Join Bonita Bell-Andersen next week for more conversations with experts on finances, retirement, behavioral finance issues, health and wellness, and more. Until then, remember to ask good questions.